Major General Carl McNair is a local hero. He had a remarkably distinguished 32-year career in the U.S. Army, followed by a remarkably distinguished 32-year career in the private sector, where he engaged very deeply in community and served on many different boards of directors of nonprofits that help the disabled, that help veterans, and that serve military personnel and their families. The U.S. Military Academy has named Carl a distinguished graduate, which is an honor that fewer than 100 graduates from West Point have ever received. Carl has also been selected as the 89th living legend of aviation.
When I was a little boy, I could look up and see the Navy pilots training and fly. And I said, one day I'd like to do that. So I went to the military academy at West Point, where I was very successful. Became an airborne, that's a paratrooper, became a ranger, and I became an Army aviator. And of course I became the chief of United States Army Aviation and built the biggest aviation force in the Army.
I've known Carl for well over 20 years. He is a leader among leaders. He was in Vietnam. Vietnam was a war fought extensively through helicopter intervention. He was a major player in that. Had over 1,500 hours of combat in the air. And you think about what 10 minutes would be like, and then what 10 hours would be like, and then what 1,500 hours would be like. And his ability to do that, and he's extraordinarily unassuming about it. But I think if there were an award for character, Carl McNair would walk away with it.
About 2,000 men and women pilots come through the Army Aviation Flight Training Center in a year. And I was very proud to be the first chief of that aviation branch. I was there when we brought in the first woman. And believe me, I will tell you, the women are wonderful pilots. They are just as brave and they're cool. When I say cool, they serve under stress.
Carl is not only an incredible contributor to his community, but to his family. His wife had a disabling stroke in her 30s, and he spent decades caring for her daily in the most visual depiction, living depiction of what it means to be a devoted husband, to have and to hold and to care for in sickness and in health for decades.
I think the United States is very lucky to have General Carl McNair. And certainly Northern Virginia is a lottery winner in that front, because he chose to keep himself and his family here. He is a national treasure.
Absolutely call General McNair a hero for the professional service, a lifetime of service that he gave this nation, but also what he has continued to do since then. That man is sharp. He is up to date. He's truly an incredible man.
He did help to produce and publish a book about Arlington Cemetery called Where Valor Rests, and there are beautiful pictures in there of the cemetery itself and the grave sites, and it does a lot to ease the grief of these families, and he gives a copy of this book to each family when there is their time in the cemetery.
When you talk about character, competence, and commitment, Carl epitomizes that for all of us, and he's just been an absolute role model, not only for myself, but I think for everybody in the community. He's lived the life that I think most of us would love to live, and if I could do half the things in my life that Carl has done through his years of service to our country and in the business community, then I will consider that a huge accomplishment. 30 some odd years in the Army, and now I've had about 30 more years out in the community, which I've served this community very well. I was born in the Great Depression of 1933, and of course I'm now going on 86 years old. But no, I plan to continue as long as I can. You have some, I would say, frailties. I mean, I can't run a 4-minute mile anymore. In fact, I don't even fly that airplane anymore. But seriously, I plan to continue doing what I can do. That's the main thing. And frankly, I feel like I'm maybe doing my share.
Carl is a remarkably generous local philanthropist. A year and a half ago, he donated $1 million to Easter Seals. And to honor Carl for this gift, Easter Seals named their Child Development Center in Northern Virginia after Carl and his late wife, Joanne. Carl is not only a remarkable man who's had a distinguished career no matter where he's landed, he's one of the most generous local philanthropists Northern Virginia has ever seen.